Hello everyone, my name is Anuj. I'm a second year M.B.B.S student at GMC Nagpur, and before we go any further, you can see the timeline is very well divided into various different parts. These different parts are the headings. I'll just give you a brief into what those headings are. So we have academics, we have time management, relationships, friendships and family, ragging, money management, living situations, that is hostels or homes or renting apartments, and then we finally have extracurricular activities. It's going to be a long video, but I promise it's going to be fun, so stay till the end. Okay, so let us start with the most important thing, that is academics. And the first point in this heading is post-NEET inertia. Now what is this post-NEET inertia? Well, it is what exactly it sounds like. After you have given your NEET examination and you are into your medical college, a few months, initially the first 2 months are slow. You don't really want to learn a lot. You want to take a break from all the studying that you have been doing on for the past 2 or 3 years. Now this phase after NEET will slow you down in your first year, because the earlier you start this very vast syllabus compared to NEET, you are in the end gonna get more time to revise every single thing. Okay, my second point over here is that self-study matters more than classroom learning in MBBS at least. So any of the theory that you're going to be reading is predominantly going to be in your memory because you read it and not because somebody else has taught you. That means you have to read a lot and you have to get accustomed to reading a lot. So the earlier start, again, the better it's going to be. Just take that thought out of your mind that there will be a few teachers who will teach you the entire subject completely. Yes, there will be, but the syllabus is so vast that it is not possible to cover up the entire syllabus in such short period of time. Hence, there will be some portions which are taught very nicely in colleges, the most important ones, and some portions you have to do on your own. But in the end, every single thing, important or not, you have to do on your own. So that's the thing, that self-study here matters more than anything else. My third point here is start studying whenever you get the time. That means after you're done with college, we'll come back to this in the later segment of the video, but after you come back to college, just take a few moments off and then start with only a small target in mind, like only 1 or 2 chapters from the physiology textbook or 1 or 2 chapters from the biochemistry textbook. So what this is going to do is that every single day you only have to study for a small duration of time. So in the end, you won't have to cram up so many days of work into a few nights, right? So that's my thing, ki start studying whenever you can, and don't think of excuses. I'm just back from college, only half hour, only 45 minutes. That's how you have to start, and starting is the most important part. The next point is focus on understanding rather than memorization. Many people look at biochemistry and think of it as a very memorization based subject. I mean, clearly it is, but if you really study it nicely, then you will know that it is a more understanding based subject. Unless and until you don't know what is actually going on, why it is going on, and the reason why it is happening, you won't understand the concept, and then you'll just passively memorize all the cycles without actually knowing what the significance of those cycles are. So at any point in your life, in your first year at least, you're going to be encountering memorization things and understanding things, but even the memorization parts have some understanding hidden in between them. So just try to look at those things which you can understand, and don't just blindly memorize everything. In the end, you will only retain those things which you have actually understood and not those which you have memorized. Let me give you an example over here. When the saturation of oxygen falls in our body, there is something called as hypoxia inducible factor 1, which is transcribed, and it leads to the formation of erythropoietin and certain other vasoactive molecules. So you can either memorize that, or you can logically think ki when oxygen is depleting, our body thinks that we need to replenish that oxygen, and so we need more RBCs, and hence erythropoietin is produced. So that's the difference. You will forget if you have taken one path, and you won't if you have taken some other path of understanding the same concept all over. My next point is that correlate everything that you study in your theory with your practical or your clinical side. What do I mean by that? If you're studying the superficial venous drainage of the neck, then you should definitely know something called as jugular venous pressure and why it is measured. If you're studying the femoral artery, then you should know that it is used for catheterization of the heart. Then if you're studying something such as the knee joint, then you should know what is anterior anterior cruciate ligament tear or posterior cruciate ligament tear. So basically every single thing that you study in anatomy, physiology and biochemistry, you should correlate that clinically. If you're studying something such as phenylalanine metabolism, then you should know what is phenylketonuria and all the diseases associated with it. This will not just help you in your paper part, because every single time that you're going to be writing down a paper, you will always have a question key, what is its clinical significance, and that way you're going to get help. And second of all, you will fall in love with the subject. That means you are not just completely studying the basics, but you are going slightly advanced and kind of figuring out how different things work. And once you are in second year, you will encounter a subject of pathology, pharmacology, in which where we see these things and we learn how to treat. The next point is that please know that the practical classes are just as important as the theory classes, if not more. The reason is that you can read the theory at your comfort in your hostel or at your home, but the practical classes, once they are gone, they will never come back. So my suggestion is never ever miss a histology practical class. So what histology is basically is that we are looking into the tissue specimens to identify what this tissue is made up of, what are the different types of cells and morphology of the different cells. And similar way in physiology practicals, you have something like graphs, or you have a clinical examination. So never ever miss that, because once you miss that, there is no way you're going to get it back unless and until you take extra efforts. Okay, but theory, if you miss it, then it's not going to be a problem. But attendance again is a very important issue in every single college. So make sure that you keep your attendance high, both in theory as well as practical, and make sure to attend every single practical, even if you're not attending every single theory class. Another thing is that dissection is only and only available in first year. That means if you miss your dissection in the first year itself, there is no way in the other different years which you're going to get to practice on a real cadaver, develop your skills. So all of these things can only be done in first year. So never ever miss your practical classes, physiology, biochemistry, as well as anatomy, dissection. And gradually you will notice this, that many people in your surroundings are starting to miss classes. Never fall into that trap. Just stay consistent to at least your practical classes. I'm not going to say much about theory classes. One thing that really needs to be said over here is that grades don't really matter. Many people go searching for that 81%, 82%, 85% in their universities, but in the end it does not really matter what grade you are scoring, how much percentage you are scoring. If I ask my parents how much did they score when they were first studying in first year or second year, they don't even remember it, neither does anybody remember it. So what we have to take home point over here is that grades don't really matter. What matters is how much information you have in your brain, how well you are able to get it out, and what are the different clinical scenarios that you know out of that useful information which you have. For example, a person might be there who might be knowing embryology, so he will know something called as the fossa ovalis and the limbus fossa ovalis, and there will be another person who will be knowing something called as atrial septal defect, ventricular septal defect. So of course the person who is knowing more pathological things in first year itself, that person will be given much more value, even though what they ask in the examination is about the fossa ovalis and the limbus fossa ovalis. So the thing is, in the end, grades don't really matter. They only matter once you look very, very subjectively. Otherwise, if I ask you, do you really care about how much you scored in 10th or 11th or 12th? To be honest, I don't really care, and I'm pretty sure you don't too, unless of course you're an 11th or 12th standard student, then you definitely care. Don't run towards grades. Run towards understanding the subject, and grades will definitely automatically come. And always remember, you have to study a lot, but don't do it for the grades. Do it because you want to learn something, you want to understand something. Apart from that, solving clinical cases is a must, and this is my next step. I keep giving this tip in every single one of my videos, and the reason why I do this is because, let me just demonstrate an incident. In pharmacology, we study about something called as low molecular weight heparin, and we give that heparin to thin out the blood so that it does not form clots. So it's an anticoagulant. The mode of administration of low molecular weight heparin is subcutaneous. So I read that in pharmacology, I did not really remember it, but once I went to the hospital and I saw a patient with mitral stenosis, that patient was put on low molecular weight heparin so that mural thrombi don't form in their atrium. And I saw the doctor giving her the LMWH heparin into her abdomen. And I was like, okay, is it given subcutaneous? And then my friends tell me that yes, it is given subcutaneous. So of course I forgot what I read, but what I saw that particular moment when I looked at the doctor giving the patient the medicine, I will not forget that. That means that unless and until you don't have a little bit of practical exposure, reading theory won't really matter. So in some colleges, actually in most of the colleges in first year also, people have started going to the clinics, and I think it's the part of the curriculum right now. So if you are given the chance, definitely go visit the hospital with proper precaution so that you don't get infected due to many of the nosocomial infections that we have, and see some practical cases over there ki how everything is going to be without disturbing much of the hospital staff. So yeah, that's the thing. And make sure you go with friends and don't go alone, so that if you ever get caught, then you won't be caught alone. Okay, so when exams are approaching, make sure to solve previous year question papers and previous year MCQs as much as you can, because in the end those questions are the ones which are going to be making up your new question paper. So everything is going to be blended, and then a few questions will be selected, and those will be your final question paper. So even whenever you feel like I don't know what to study, just look at the importance PDF or look at which questions have been asked previously, and then just read those topics and understand them, and learn them properly, so that you can write properly in your examinations. Examinations are pretty difficult. Initially you are not able to manage your time, but gradually it does get easier, and then of course you are able to manage your time perfectly. Okay, one of the final points over here is that every single time that you're done with a subject, make sure to solve the review book of that subject. If you are, let's say, done with physiology, then make sure to solve the review book of physiology by Dr. Krishna Kumar sir, so that this will give you a review of everything. Like the title says, the review book will give you the review of everything. And make sure to solve the MCQs also. You might think that why are we solving MCQs in first year, even though in our next examination the importance of first year is not very much, because solving MCQ gives you a big perspective of what is important, what is not, and by the process of just solving MCQs, you are just encoding the pathways of thinking in a much efficient way, so that you are just actively doing something and not just passively reading stuff. So always make sure to solve a review book. Let me just mention the 3 review books which I always say: Krishna Kumar sir's book for physiology, Rebecca J. Ma'am's book for biochemistry, and Arvind Arora sir's book for anatomy. So these are the 3 review books which you should definitely solve by the end of first year. Yeah, at any point during your preparation, like you have done with superior extremity thorax from BDC or Grace, then you go ahead and solve the review book of that particular topic you have read. Okay, so coming to my last topic about academics, I want to talk about some online subscriptions that you can get, because it is first year and NEET PG was going to happen after internship, but it has been cancelled, and from batches from 17-18 onwards, the exam that's going to be held is called as National Exit Test, and it is this exam that we have to qualify in order to get, first of all, a degree of MBBS, as well as second of all to get a residency in the desired PG department. Now the next examination is going to be conducted before the internship, so you essentially lose that 1 year internship preparation period. That means you have to start 1 year earlier, and that's the reason that I'm talking about Marrow for you first year guys. If it was NEET PG, then I probably would not have said much, but since you are in first year, I think that you should kind of consider getting Marrow for yourself. The reason I'm talking about Marrow is that personally I've used it since 2 years and I'm extremely satisfied and happy with it, and I don't think that any other app matches the user friendliness and the awesomeness of Marrow itself. So here's the thing, I had the app since first year, and I used to solve all the question banks of Anat Physio and Biochem, and the MCQs given in the Q banks are extremely high yield. Now what do I mean by high yield? If you solve those MCQs, then what will happen is that all the other MCQs that you're ever going to be solving in your university exams or in review books are going to be feeling comparatively easy. Now the good thing about this is that you get exposure to the level of question which is actually going to be present in the examination, and if you are getting Marrow, then definitely solve all the question banks which are given relevant to your year. Some of the other online benefits that you get from having an online subscription such as Marrow is that you never have to worry about you not knowing a topic particularly well. Let's say if I don't know what is protein folding, then I could just watch the lecture without ever having to worry about reading the book and understanding or not. And I think that simply just takes out a lot of stress from our regular everyday studies, that we know that somewhere we have those great lectures which we can watch anytime and learn a lot from them. The diagrams and explanation in anatomy is fabulous, and I don't even need to say anything about Krishna Kumar sir. Physiology, is like amazing, and if you do your physiology well, your medicine will be definitely very very simplified. Recently I got an email from one of you toppers of your entire NEET 2020, and he actually asked me about marrow. So definitely, if the toppers are going to start preparing, then I think everybody should start preparing, because you are starting from the ground zero. Now when you are entering MBBS, everybody is starting from zero. Nobody has any knowledge whatsoever. So I think that the earlier you get into the race, the better outcomes it will be there. So it is very very nice, and I am recommending marrow because I personally use it and I really really love it. So yeah, that's marking the end of the academic things. Now let's get on with the second topic. Okay, so now let us move on to our second heading of this video: relationships, friendships and family. So whenever you're going to be moving on to a new college, then definitely most of the people that you're going to be meeting there are strangers, and gradually as years pass, these strangers will definitely become your second family in a way. So of course, some of you guys will be leaving your families back in your hometown, and some of you will not be, but you will definitely find a second family in your college itself. Now the process of finding the second family is pretty difficult, and sometimes it takes longer than expected. So let me just walk you through this process. Initially you will be friends with every single one of your batchmates, but as your a medical career grows one step by step, you will find yourself attached to only a few people, and those few people will actually be very different from the few people you attached with initially. That means initially when you are in the college, and the first few months, the people who are your friends, after you are progressed into like second year, third year or final year, you won't be able to even recognize these people, because you will have lost connection with them, and that happens, and it's very very natural. It is often said that you won't finish your MBBS with the same people whom you started your MBBS with. That basically means that your circles are going to change as the journey progresses, and that's a natural thing. Nature will work and natural selection will work in a way. The people who you vibe more with, you will start to stay with them subconsciously. If you're a person who likes to play outdoor sports as well as to study, you will definitely be with those kind of people more. If you're a YouTuber who also likes to study a lot, then you will be with those kind of people, and subconsciously so many different groups will be formed, and that's a very natural phenomena. And you might feel that you have lost connection with the people whom you initially started your first year with, and that is going to happen. So don't feel bad about it, but also know that as one door closes in life, another door opens up. So if you're losing connection with somebody, you are forming a new connection with somebody else, and they are forming a new connection with somebody else, and this is happening all at the same time. So this is what friendship in medical college is like. And once you find your particular niche, and that will happen accidentally. For example, in the college I mostly stay with a few friends, and one of my friends is Abhijit. I met him by being in a quiz with him, so I was his quiz mate, and that is how everything started. So in this way, accidentally you will find so many different people who are connecting with you, and that is the way you will find your circle. And after like 1 year is passed, you will find yourself in the perfect position, surrounded by the best people that you will know, and these people will turn into your second family. Now the type of friendship that you actually get into affects you mentally as well as physically. If you are with the people who really are competitive, and they really want to do well in their academics, your mentality will change according to them. It is very well known that you are the sum of the 10 closest people that you live together with. So if you live with people who are very progressive, then of course in the end you will become very progressive. But if you are with people who don't really like to move forward in academics, but they are in some other things, you will gradually move towards them, or you will move out. That's the only progression that's going to happen. And there are a lot of things that happen in medical colleges which I'm not allowed to say on video, but just find yourself the people who are actually progressing in life, and not just the people who are getting involved into things which are not really good. In the end, after your college is done, everything is done, you won't really remember the different classes and the different academically active things that you have done in college, but rather you will remember all the late night talks which you have done with your friends, all the masti which you have done with the friends, and all the cands which you have done with your friends. So make sure that those people are really valuable to you. And yeah, it is not just about studying, it's about so much more. My next topic is of relationships, because at this stage, once you are done with 12th standard, and since 9th standard we are being told कि 9th में नहीं, 10th में नहीं, 11th में नहीं, 12th में नहीं, but after 12th and after granting that freedom by being away from your parents, you think that okay, now is probably the time that you can get into a relationship. And trust me, many people do. So the way it works is that yes, this is the right time to be in a relationship, but you must know that there has to be some trial and error. It's not the perfect match in the first time itself. So even if you get into a relationship and you break up, that's again a very natural thing to do. But you have to determine what kind of partner you are choosing in life for that particular period at least. Because if they are negative, then your entire surrounding becomes negative. But if they are progressive positive, then your entire surrounding becomes positive. At this point, I would like to tell you something about something called as friend zone. So I think everybody is familiar with the term friend zone, but the concept not everybody knows. Now, being a friend is different from being friend zoned. Unless and until you are not a friend of a person, you can never really date them. But if you are something which the other person considers only to be a friend, then you are friend zone. That does not mean that if you are a friend to somebody, you cannot date them. Know that what is the difference between a friend and being friend zoned. And yeah, to any people who is looking forward to relationship advice, I'm not the best person to give it, but all I'm telling is that this is the time then that when it will happen, and make sure that through trial and error you find a good person who is genuinely interested in your life. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about this. Okay, coming to our next heading, that is money management. Now, when you are staying with your family, money management is very, very simple. But once you are staying away from your family, it gets complicated. So let us first talk about people who are staying away from the family into hostels or different, rooms. So whenever you are outside your home, there are a few costs which come naturally. First of all, the cost of living in a particular room or a particular hostel. We have a monthly rent, and that you have to pay. Second is the cost of eating food, and that comes from mess or comes from any Zomato, Swiggy or any other different restaurant that you're going to be ordering food from. And the third one is of course travel. That means you are going to have to go from your place to college, and if you're not staying just next to the college, it's going to be money consuming for you, and then you have to go from your college or your hostel to your hometown. So that's an additional amount of money that you're going to be spending. And once you are a localite or a person who lives in their home while attending college, then the money management becomes fairly simple. Only the things which you have to eat and the travel money, that is the petrol cost or the diesel cost which you need to pay in order to drive to and fro. So talking about a localite such as me, I don't even require like 3,500 or 3,000 per month to sustain, like with fairly high amount of going outs and fairly high amount of partying. This much is enough for me. Once you are in the hostel, of course, the prices will be bumped up depending upon where you are staying. So it can go anywhere from like 5,000 all the way to 10 or 15,000 depending upon how much you are spending. So make sure that you cap it off at a limit. At this month, this is my limit. I won't spend above it, so that in the end you can save some money, and that will actually help you. There are a few tips and tricks which you can utilize to save yourself some money. That is, first of all, form groups and do the activities in groups. For example, if you want to buy a really expensive book, you cannot buy it on your own. Let's say you're buying a very, very nice colorful atlas. Then don't buy it alone, buy it with friends, so that you can together share the book and of course divide the money equally. If you are looking forward to getting a Wi-Fi, then form a group and get 4 or 5 people to sign up for it, and then get a Wi-Fi connection if you don't already have it. If you want to travel from place A to place B, and if you are looking for a cheaper solution, then of course sharing a van or sharing a particular mode of transport would be much easier. So these are a few things that sharing really diminishes the total costs which you're going to be facing. And apart from that, the costs of outing are different. So there are places which provide you good food at low prices, and there are places which provide you crappy food with very high prices. So you have to find a place in the between where you are also getting very high quality food with a decent amount of price. So explore a little bit, but you will definitely find a place very nice which you will like. The next thing is that most people stay in this entire circle itself, that they just passively take the money from their parents and then they spend it, and that's nothing wrong. That's how normal society works. But if you want to do something extraordinary, you can go one step ahead and start earning your own money, so that you can basically do whatever you want to. So how can you earn money? Then the most important answer over here is the internet. You can provide something of value in exchange for money. As a student, what are your basic things which you can sell? First of all, you can teach people, and that's a really great source of income, because basically companies have been founded which basically run on students teaching the students. So yeah, teaching is a great way. Vlogging, such as myself, or blogging, writing blog posts, etc., opening an Instagram page. And finally, you can sell your own goods. That means if you are good at painting, if you're good at making stuff, then you can sell that in order to gain some money. So basically, this were all the ways you can manage your income sources. And what I suggest you is that try to get out of the zone where you are just passively spending money without earning it. Once you start to earn, then your perspective changes and you try to value money more, and it basically then you unlock a lot of things, just because you are now the master of your own income. So that is what I would suggest to everybody watching this video. Okay, so now let us move on to our next heading, that is time management. So time management, I have made a separate video about it, definitely go check that out. But what I want to point out over here is that you own 100% of your time. That means there is not one point in your day which you do not own, and it is on you of how to shape that particular moment to either being lazy or being super productive. So this is one thing people don't understand. And the other thing is that I don't have the time to do this. There is no such concept of not having time. You have to make time for things. Let us say that I fix you up to meet your favorite superstar, or I fix you up to go on a very, very pretty girl. Will you say to me that, sorry, today I am so busy, I don't have the time to do this particular activity? No, of course not. Even though you are doing every single thing which you are normally doing, you will find the time to go on the date with that pretty girl or meet that favorite celebrity. Now this is just an example. With this example, you can think that there are actually a lot of moments from which you can capture your time and utilize it in proper way. Whenever you are in college, it starts at 8 or 9 and ends at 4 or 5 in the evening. So your entire day is basically gone. After the day is over, starts your real hard work. After your day is over. So when will you work hard actually? So during the weekdays, that is Monday to Saturday, what are you going to do is that once you come back and you take a 2 or 3 hours break, then you start studying, and start studying only for a few minutes. That is like 60 minutes or 90 minutes, not like 100 minutes also. These small sessions every single day will just push you much further than you are expecting. It's always small steps every single day. There's this equation, 1.01 to the power 365 is a lot. So that 0.01 really makes a difference if you repeat that throughout the year. So that is what I like to believe. And in the weekends, just do all the pending stuff, such as assignments, GTs, any tests, any project preparation, all of that. Just keep it reserved for the weekends and utilize your weekends as much as possible. In this pandemic, we have lost our proportion of time, so we are not being able to quantify time in its actuality. That means we are spending the entire day not doing a lot of things. So when our college actually starts, we are going to regret it a lot, because we are accustomed to this new routine now. And earlier what used to happen was that we used to work so hard during the weekdays, and in the weekends we used to study a lot. And I think that is something which has lost its concept. But once everything starts, of course it will come back, and it is very, very important that you utilize your weekends apart from your weekdays also. So my take home point from over here is that small steps every single day, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever the time you can find, you earn 100% of it, and do small steps every single day. Okay, so let us come to our next heading, that is living situation. Now this is a bit complicated, as I am seeing it through my point of view, but different people see it through their points of view, and of course point of views differ. So this is what I feel. So basically there can be 3 living situations which you can find yourself when you are in the medical college. It may be in your hometown, so you will be living at your home and going to the medical college, which is my situation. I am called a localite. There may be a situation in which you will be living in the hostel provided by the college itself, and that situation is called as being a hostelite. And the final situation is that you are actually renting an apartment out with your friends or alone, and then from there you're going to the college, and that we call satellites. So there are three different situations, and there are pros and cons of each one of them. So let us start with the ones which I know the best. So for this comparison, we will keep satellite and localite as one thing, because physiologically speaking they are one and the same thing. So what is something that you can do as a localite but which you can't do as a hostelite? First of all, when you are staying at your home, if it's your optimum place of study, then you can crunch in as many hours as you like, and you don't have to worry about anything. You are dependent upon your parents for a lot of things, but that gives you some additional time to explore other things, such as, starting a YouTube channel or starting a blog or making websites or making apps. So all of these things can be, I think, much easily done once you are at home. Of course, people do it once they are in a hostel also, but I'm just saying that it is much more efficient. The next thing is that you are at your own comfortable place. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about food or clothes to be washed or any of those things. Everything will get done. Either you will do it or somebody else will do it for you. But once you are outside, that completely changes. Next, you get to live in your own city, which has been your home, I think, and that provides another sort of relief that, okay, this is my city, nothing can happen to me in this city itself, I am like the boss of the city, kind of that feeling. Apart from that, your costs come down remarkably, because you're no longer gonna have to pay for food as well as for living. That's provided for free. So yeah, those were the few things you can do as a localite. As a hostelite, you get a lot more exposure to the outside world. You get much more independent. You get to know these new skills which you didn't even know you had, and you get to have a lot of fun in your college, which localites cannot have physiologically speaking. You get a lot more independence, which you didn't really have before, and now you are more of a mature person than you were before. There are some downsides to it, but I think it differs for everybody, so I'm not gonna say them. So yeah, those were the comparisons, and it depends whether you feel comfortable at your home or the hostel. It just completely depends on you. For me, my home is the most efficient place I can be at, and that is why I dropped on all the other colleges and took GMC Nagpur, which is again a very beautiful college. If any one of you watching this video makes it to this college, please make sure to come and meet me. I'm very proud of you. Okay, so my final point over here is ragging. It's a very controversial topic, so I'm only going to speak the things which are actually relevant. And please try to understand whatever I'm trying to speak rather than just acting upon what you have been told. So the first thing is that it is still happening in some parts of our country. It is not completely extinguished. And if you find yourself in a situation, then it's probably best to just take it as a fun activity rather than something extremely serious, because your seniors, they are trying to get to know you. They are treating you like their junior brothers and sisters, so don't worry about it too much. Of course, there are certain limits to every single thing. After those limits are crossed, then ragging becomes something else which you should definitely keep an eye out for. If it's still a fun activity, there are some minor tasks or some minor things which the seniors are telling you to do, that's perfectly fine, do them. If your seniors are scolding you, that is not ragging, that is just telling you about the correct way something has to be done. So don't worry about it too much, and if it's still a limit that you are able to well tolerate it along with your friends and you laugh at it afterwards, then it's perfectly fine. But if a limit is crossed and something such as harassment starts, then you know that this is going somewhere else. There have been cases in our country, not only in UG but also in PG, where students have literally committed suicide just because of this mental harassment which they were placed under. The Bone Teacher sir actually made a really great video about this. You should definitely check that one out. And the thing is that stay mentally strong, and if you feel that extremities are being reached, then talk it out with the most favorite teacher of your college, whichever one you feel the most comfortable with. Tell them what is happening, and maybe they'll be able to find a solution for you. Of course, this only happens as far as I have been told that it only happens in first year. So it's just a matter of a few months, and if you can, then take it as a very fun activity. And once a certain line is crossed, you know what I'm talking about, then definitely that becomes a wrong thing, right? Everything has its limits. So that is all what I'm going to say about ragging, because it is such a controversial topic, because I don't really want to get into trouble with anybody. So yeah, that's my take on it. That wraps up this entire video, and guys, it took a lot of effort to make this video. So if you really enjoyed watching it, if you enjoyed the way I'm explaining things, then please hit the like button, because then it would mean a lot to me. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe leave a comment. Watch some of the other videos of this channel, and if you feel they are worth it, the quality in those videos, then kindly subscribe to my channel. And yeah, with that being said, it's really amazing you stayed so long with me. Anyways, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. Until next time, I'll see you soon.